Yes, the hashtag is NewsGang. We're receiving quite a bit of feedback, by the way, on the discussion we've had on education. So let's just wrap up some of that feedback before we move to serious matters that need to be taken very slowly. But here is one. I won't say who this is from. But they say, listening to the conversation unpacking the education capitation debacle, this is the reason why certain institutions, I won't name them, are always very measured in what they say, when and how. Politicians should stick to politics. If you're in the executive, you need to master the art of being considered. Great job. Thank you for that. Then there is another one that says, thank you so much for highlighting this issue. Shules zinachotwa because of debts. There is apparently a school in Nyandarua County, a public school, whose assets are being attached or auctioned. So I'm seeing here the proclamation of attachment of movable property, and this is on the 18th of July, 2025. These are some of the assets. A school bus, in running condition, they say, valid at roughly 800,000 shillings. Assorted furniture items at the offices, valued roughly at 100,000 shillings. And then the notice of attachment, or from the auctioneers, also says they will take any other movables if need be. This is a very dire situation, and they're saying this is in Nyandarua County, by the way, and that this could be the reason that we're seeing unrest in secondary schools due to the tightened belts that are causing stress to everybody within the school system. Linus.
I think there's so many things we can play around with in this country, but one that should be out of bounds is education. Yeah. I think that should be sacred ground. And we have another, just some feedback coming from a viewer going by the name GDK. Let's just be honest. If there is not enough money for full capitation, say it. Don't spin. Don't confuse. Schools are stretched, parents are anxious, and students are the ones paying the price. Even the president had to clarify. That alone tells you how bad the communication has been. Too many people from the ministry speaking at the same time. No single source of truth. And then GDK concludes, education is too important for this kind of noise. If we value it, we need clarity, consistency, and the courage to do hard things.
Yeah. Yeah, of hard conversations. And then we move. These conversations happen in your household, right? We used to have 100 shillings. Now we have 80. So what do? Yeah, what gives? Something's got to give. So hopefully we have some more honest conversations going forward. Here's another honest conversation that's happening, and that's across our borders. So Tanzania has certain policy guidelines that they've announced this week.
Yes.
Maybe, Jamila, you could take us through that. We will listen to Selemani again in a moment. But just tell us what's happened in the last week, what Tanzania is saying about non-nationals and the sorts of businesses they can and cannot conduct in the country.
It was actually a special supplement notice that was dated July 28th, 2025, actually from this ministry, the Minister for Viwanda na Biashara, Dr. Selemani Jafo, which outlawed foreigners from operating small businesses like salons, mobile money transfer services, phone repairs, and tour guiding. This is because the government is under pressure to provide economic opportunities for the 60 million Tanzanians who live there. Remember, this is an election year. They go to the polls on October 28th. This is just part of several government strategies that the Tanzanian government is implementing to try and promote citizen-led growth. They're trying to expand economic opportunities for Tanzanians. They're trying to maybe reshape or change the structure of local business ownership. This was, according to what the ministry was saying. Let's just listen to Dr. Selemani Jafo. Let him talk about why they're doing this and what they intend it to be like.
Unafahamu mwanzo kulikuwa na watu wanafanya biashara ndogo ndogo hata za kimachinga, wanafanya biashara zingine ambazo wazawa hizi wana kazi wanaweza kuzifanya, lakini imefikia mpaka watu sasa hivi wanakuwa madalali wa nyumba. Utakuta mtu anaondoka, mtu mgeni anafanya udalali wa nyumba ambao kama hizo, lakini kuna mambo mengi ndani yake. Kwa hiyo sasa ndio maana kata zulia itasaidia sana wafanya biashara wa Kitanzania kuhakikisha kwamba wanafanya kazi kwa nafasi zaidi bila kuingiliwa na watu wengine.
So anasema
say it's
biashara. Okay. So they're saying in biashara that the businesses, even the small ones that are being done in Tanzania have been infiltrated by foreigners, so much so that they're even agents for houses, madalali wa nyumba, agents for houses. So they're saying mutuachie hizi wa Tanzania waendelee kufanya these small businesses that I've mentioned, nyi mu concentrate on viwanda, the bigger ones, the industries. Okay. So mupatie, yeah, that's what he's saying. And Yvonne, if you look at the number of Kenyans who live and work in Tanzania, they're about at least 40,000. But those that are involved in informal cross-border trading, kuna wale ambao wako pale kwenye mpaka, they cross into Tanzania, wanafanya biashara, wanarudi. So those ones, they can't really document them, but there are about 40,000 and more who are there. But then what happens to all those people? And a lot of them do operate these small businesses. Ukienda katika duka la M-Pesa kule Tanzania utapata ni Mkenya. You'll get hairdressers, salonists who are there, people who work in the mining sites, there's Kenyans there. So hao wote wameambiwa mwache. Those who had already had contracts, I think, or who have their licenses have been allowed to continue operating until the lapse of those licenses. But after hapo hakuna renewal. Either urudi kule ulikokuwa ama uanze kuingia biashara nyingine. There's also reprieve for those who work in hotels in terms of like maybe a salonist or a massagist or masseuse who works in a hotel, wao wako sawa. But a majority of them who operate these small businesses, I'm sorry, muondoke. These businesses have to be left to Tanzanians. Of course, we've had our government speaking up. I don't know if we have the soundbite for CS Mudavadi on the Tanzania jobs. Maybe, yeah, we can listen to him.
Mheshimiwa Rais pia kama mwenyekiti wa East African Community Summit anawasiliana na Rais wa Jamhuri ya Tanzania na pia waziri ambaye anahusika na mambo ya biashara. Kwa hivyo tunatumia mbinu za kidiplomasia.
Wanatumia mbinu za kidiplomasia kujaribu kutatua, because the importance of, I mean, huu ushirikiano and ujirani and the Kenyans who live there and the Tanzanians who live in Kenya ni muhimu. So these are issues I think which have to be tatuliwad at that level. Yvonne, as I hand over to you, this is not the first time we've had trade disputes with Tanzania. They've been long-running ones. There was an MOU that was signed in 2021. I remember there was an issue about trucks crossing over magari kutoka Tanzania, kutoka Kenya, kupita. Kulikuwa na issues about chicken. So tumevutana hapa na pale.
Chicken that were burned.
Tumevutana hapa na pale. So it has to be sorted out.
Yeah, and you know, trade is also a function of diplomacy. Or is it diplomacy that's also a function of trade? So the Cabinet Secretary for Trade, Kinyanjui, Lee Kinyanjui, also said, well, all cards are on the table.
As to whether retaliation is one of the cards on the table, maybe the point is we can't rule it out. But I think that should really be the last thing. The first thing is to give diplomacy and negotiations an opportunity. And that's really the direction we want to go.
Yeah, and that is because we are part of a common market called the East African Community, which, by the way, I saw the Secretary General Veronica Nduva speaking about this as well, the PS in the EAC, Dr. Caroline Karugu. And this is exactly what the CS Kinyanjui went on to say about Kenyans working in Tanzania as well.
Very many Kenyans are working within the broader East Africa, especially in areas of IT, in areas of SME, and many others. And I think we would want to continue to give Kenyans and citizens within the East Africa community an opportunity to work anywhere that opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, and so there's that little matter of EAC, right, which allows free movement of people, goods, and services across the border. So there's clearly that matter that we have to contend with. But also the fact that there is a sense that this is directed at Kenyans. Or anyway, perhaps we've also taken it personally because Kenya is the second trading partner. Kenya and Tanzania, of course, the first trading partner is Uganda for Kenya, and then, you know, Tanzania. Followed by Tanzania. So there's quite a bit of trade that happens between Kenya and Tanzania. And maybe people are also looking at recent events that have taken place there with the deportation of certain Kenyans who were there and the torture of others, Boniface Mwangi, Agatha Tuhaire. So, but then there is the matter of the EAC, and there are some protocols there, which is why there's complaints being raised. Jay.
Yvonne, you rightfully mentioned, somebody had indicated elsewhere that the notice was in English, and most Tanzanian notices are always in Swahili. So clearly the target market or the target audience was us. So that there's no doubt in our minds that this is what they've done. And those of us who are there and doing all these businesses that Jamila says they're calling dalali should pack and go. But to the fact of the matter, Tanzania has always made a mockery of the East African Community Common Market Protocol. Yeah. They abuse it if and when they want it. We don't know for what reason, but I think it is something that the EAC must at one point also address. Because in 2010, when this protocol was signed, the most fundamental one was on the movement of goods and services, as well as labor and capital. And what this meant was that there was supposed to be a principle of equal treatment of all members of partner states, irrespective of which country you are in. That if you are a Kenyan and you're in Burundi, then you are treated as a Burundian. That if you're Ugandan and you're in Tanzania, then you are treated as a Tanzanian. But here we have a situation where constantly Tanzania breaches this. And they do it at the highest level. Because initially, what used to be argued was that all these things were signed at national headquarters, maybe Dar es Salaam, or Nairobi, or Kampala, or Bujumbura, or Kigali, but then again implementation, the officers who are supposed to implement it are not sufficiently briefed. Yeah. But this year, we have a minister coming out more forcefully and explaining in details why they're taking that action. I think these are some of the things that the EAC, with President Ruto as the chairperson now, should have called an urgent meeting to ask why. Where is the place of the common protocol signed in 2010? Because ideally, that is why you see a lot of foreigners in this country doing what would call menial jobs, including hawking coffee and donuts in the streets. And nobody bothers them. That is what this protocol envisaged, that we are one big family, one big market that can easily cross over from one state to the other and do business, invest, as if I'm doing it back at home. Tanzania is heading for national elections in October. And probably this is part of those nationalistic tendencies that the incumbent is trying to appease her people with. It's open for discussion. But we must also ask that in 2021, like Jamila had rightfully indicated, Kenya specifically and Tanzania signed an MOU to further deepen the protocol that was signed in 2010. And things isn't. I think that was when President Magufuli was still alive. Yes. And shortly now, we see all these things. Do we want to sign another protocol, another MOU with Tanzania, so that we can be guaranteed that the safe space they enjoy here, the free movement they enjoy here, the capital they bring in here, the labor that they export here, we can also do the same? Or would we require a special tag as Kenyans when we go that other side so that we are guaranteed some of these things? I think this is a conversation that the EAC, if at all we want to have that reciprocity, want to have that respect of rules of engagement, then for me, it goes beyond diplomacy. And I loved one bit that CS Kenyanjui said, retaliation is not out of the cards.
Yes, indeed. Look, two things for me. I think there's maybe time to have an open, honest conversation about that free movement of people and goods. I remember when they launched the idea that you could then travel across the region using just your ID and not a passport, right? And then you didn't need a pass and that sort of thing. They did a big hoo-ha about it. Then President Uhuru Kenyatta, President Kagame. I don't know if it was Magufuli at the time, but then they went to the airport.
Still.
Yes, it was Kikwete. And, you know, they had their IDs at the airports, that's fine. That only works at the airport. Try crossing the border by bus, on foot. They'll always ask you for a passport. They'll ask you what you're going to do in that country. If you don't have that, they will require you to take a pass.
Temporary pass.
Temporary pass to get into that country. So there's those issues that we really actually need to start to truly and openly discuss, not just with Tanzania, but across the region as well. That's number one. But the second thing is, man, Tanzania has always had one foot in the east and the other in the south, if we're being honest, Linus. But, and I feel like their heart is also in the south. Maybe one foot in the east, but heart and soul.
Yeah, I think, first of all, it'll be wrong for us to think of interests of nations in a static way. They move. Interests move, shift, and you have to constantly adjust and constantly strategize, which is why even protocols are always reviewed. You have to negotiate, you have to discuss, reposition, and all that, because that's how interests work. And I think Tanzania has been pushing its interests in the best way it can. And I want us to look at what it did the other day by coming up with this business bill. I think it's very, very clear, like the minister explained there, what the intention was, and that is to protect the local employment for locals. Let's remember that job creation is a national interest of each individual government. You can't go to Arusha, the East African community, and tell Kenyans, tell Rwandese, tell South Sudan, hey, jumuiya, tunahitaji kazi ya madalali. Oh, what are those agents? You have, as a country, as Tanzania, must find jobs for your own nationals. Same thing applies to Kenyans, which is why sometimes it amuses me how we approach the table with unclean hands. Just the other day, we forget, was it in February 2023? There was an explosion here in Nairobi, in Nyamakima area, and somewhere in Thika Road as well. When China Square was open, there was a major uproar. Do you remember the major demonstration by traders to the office of the then Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua? What was that about? Why aren't we the nice guys that we're pretending to be right now and telling off Tanzanians about protecting businesses? We need to be honest. Tanzania is doing what it must do to create jobs for its people.
Yeah.
Tanzania is doing what it must do to also grow their local enterprises. The question is, what are we doing? So what is reciprocity going to look like here? The truth is, I don't think we have as many hairdressers, Tanzanian hairdressers in Kenya as we have Kenyan hairdressers in Tanzania. So even reciprocity, it's something we need to really be honest about. And kuna wakati tunashikwa. Jamila, you'll help me with the Kiswahili. being caught unawares.
Katika hali ya kutojua.
Yeah, katika hali ya kutojua. Diplomacy shifts. The interests are constantly shifting, and you have to have smart players, smart people who are constantly playing. You know, even with these protocols, they are not static. We are not in the East African community, Jumuiya, now guided by some permanent monuments and signposts. No. We have to go through paperwork. We have to keep changing the dots here and there. And it's always a game of trying to outplay each other. That is how it works. Our interest as Kenyans is to always be the ones exporting more jobs to Tanzania, having more Kenyans working there. It's our interest that we make sure that most of our goods are being exported. And we must remember that similarly, it's their interest as well to
do
the same.
Yes.
So you can be outsmarted.
Yeah.
You know, last year, I think, Kenya tried to pull one on Air Tanzania and said, no more cargo flights between Dar es Salaam and Nairobi. No, Air Tanzania should not do cargo. You can continue doing passenger transport. You know what the Tanzanians did in the spirit of reciprocity? They stopped Kenya Airways.
Yeah.
All the 33 flights a week to going to Tanzania. So I think we need more thinking and just becoming smart and understanding how these things actually work. We compete. Diplomacy is competition. Trade is competition. That is why we can't speak from both ends of our mouths. Haven't we heard some slogans about build Kenya, buy Kenya? There was a time we are saying we're no longer going to import furniture from anywhere. What is that about? It's protecting the local market. And by the way, tell the rice farmers of Mwea and Ahero about protecting local industry. How much protection are we giving them? So we need to approach some of these little events with clean hands and more soberly. In my view, I'm absolutely defending the Tanzanian bill. It's in their national interest. Now we need to fix our national interest also our way. They have a duty to look for those jobs. We have a duty to look for jobs for our people as well.
Okay. Look, I know Robert is about to say we're out of time. Sentensi moja moja for the football fans. Chan starts this weekend. By the time we convene here next week on Thursday, Harambee Stars will have played one match? Two.
That should be the second match.
They'll have played against DRC and against Morocco. We've had ups and downs.
Morocco?
Yeah. Morocco, actually, they want to win this for the third time, I think. They're already in the country, Mekuja. Game yao itakuwa Alhamisi, but we start on Sunday with DRC, who are also a really tough team. They arrived last evening.
They arrived today?
Yeah, they arrived today.
Yes.
Yeah, they arrived today.
Yeah.
So we've had issues with our preparations, with our players. Some of our star players, I think 5 of them are not going to be in the squad. One of them, Bajabera, has been signed by a Tanzanian team, hatakuwa, so almost 5 players ambao tunawategemea hawapo, but we have to work with wale ambao wapo. So tujitokeze, tuwashabikie, and I think look at this in terms of like a tournament is coming home, like to just study.
Like, do you feel it?
Your atmosphere, not yet. I don't think we're really feeling it, but watu waende study, wajaze, your atmosphere hiyo that nyumbani. Unajua some of these things, wanataka 12th players, unajua fans wanataka 12th player, so wanaweza kusaidia ushinde game. Yeah. Believe me. That's why games nyingi hatushindagwe Emirates, but that's not the point.
Really, Jamila? Such a holy God.
Hapana.
There's a recent result you may want to talk about.
Watu waingie stadium wa shabikia team.
12 players, unaenda?
I'll go for some of the games. Yeah, we have a whole month of games. We'll go watch a few.
Okay.
I think, like Jamila says, the role of the 12th man, this would be very, very important, because as it is now, the technical bench, the players and everybody is set. So it's all about us as a people to show up and cheer our team. Yeah. And I want to believe if we show up in good numbers, then they will really feel that the country is rallying behind them and they'll do their best. Yeah. Cheering on Harambee Stars through and through.
All right. Linus? For
me, it's amazing to see the look of Nyayo Stadium, the look of Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. They look beautiful. But one shameful thing we must point out, that was achieved through a lot of external pressure and supervision. And in fact, we are busy building another new stadium under very close supervision again. I just wish sometimes we can do things, whether it's construction of stadia, disbursement of funds to counties, capitation to school, without supervision. Yeah. But more on Chan, I'll say that on my kicker. Okay, all right. For me, football is not my mouth, but I wish Harambee Stars all the best. You said we are
playing DRC on Sunday and Morocco on Thursday. So look out for those road closures, by the way, starting this Sunday. And then there will be some more road closures announced for the game on Thursday. But go, Harambee Stars, go. And I think after so much, we've finally gotten to this moment. The moment is here. So let's do that. And hopefully we learn some lessons from Chan for the Africa Cup of Nations. See how good I did there. Like I said something about
well done.
About sports without actually looking at a script. So you see, I know
well
something.
Done.
But listen, whether you're a fan or not, this is Kenya's moment, right? Whether you understand football or not, this is Kenya's moment. So let's show up and show out and support the team. So on that note, Ms. Jamila, it's time for us to finish.
Final words, and I think we should let Linus talk a bit about Chan.
Right, yeah, okay.